This broadcast is the property of Codependents Anonymous. Reproduction without written permission from Codependents Anonymous is not permitted.
Bill from Florida is going to start with sharing on step 1, how I worked it and continue to work it. Take it away, Bill.
Linda, real quick, just to clarify, based on our previous conversation, while I did make some individual notes about each step, my presentation is primarily about the overall working of the first 3 steps.
However you want to do it, Bill. We're not going to edit.
Sounds good. My name's Bill, and I'm codependent. Working the first 3 steps. I've worked the 12 steps and traditions using the CoDA workbook twice. Both times I did this as part of a group of people working the steps together. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that this isn't easy and it isn't quick. Each time it took our group approximately 1.5 years to and I clarify there for everyone listening, years, 1.5 years to finish the work while meeting once a week. In both instances, approximately 2/3 of the people who signed up and came to the first few meetings had dropped out by the time we got to the end. My first group started out with 18 people and was down to 4 people within 8 months and only had 2 people left at the end. Now, obviously, part of the attrition was due to just the sheer amount of time and commitment involved in doing the work, but also because of the degree of pain and self-examination required to successfully accomplish the work. My personal belief is that working the steps, especially the first 3 steps, is truly about just that, self-examination. It is true that we become aware of the hurt that has been done to us and the circumstances that help develop our codependency. But we also become keenly aware of the part we have played in our life's experiences through choices and decisions. The very first question from step 1 in the workbook is, am I controlling and how? To me, this sets the tone for the work we are about to embark on, self-examination. Step 1 seeks to help me recognize my part in my codependency. Step 2 seeks to help me get in closer contact with my higher power. Step 3 begins to help me understand the tools that I have at my disposal, especially in regards to my higher power, to overcome my codependent behaviors. Throughout step 1, I found myself answering questions that helped me recognize what my codependency was, what basic codependent behaviors I possessed, and how to recognize them. Needless to say that right from the get-go, this can be eye-opening and somewhat painful. Step 2 helped me to get a better understanding of the higher power of my own understanding and choosing. This is a wonderful lesson as it helped me feel comforted and supported in my 12-step process. Step 3 was enormously helpful in understanding that I wasn't alone in my pursuit of emotionally healthy living and developing healthy relationships. I can happily say that while the work was long and at times painful, it was unquestionably the most effective tool that I have ever encountered to combat my codependency. It is also extremely important that I point out that while long and sometimes painful, it was also joyful and incredibly rewarding. I am beyond thankful for both the work and the amazing people who I have been blessed to have gotten to work these steps with. Some of these people have become co-sponsors to me and I to them. And we continue to work with each other and lean on each other to help each other deal with life's difficulties, with questions I have in combating my codependency, and also sharing the joys that I have come to experience through my work in CoDA. Thank you very much for letting me share.
Thank you, Bill. And now we'll go to Rosa as soon as okay, there we are. Rosa, it's your turn. Rosa from Southern California.
Hi. Hi, Linda. Hello, everybody. My name is Rosa, and I am from Southern California. And I think, it's okay. I was a little confused. I thought we were going to be speaking on each of the steps first. But that's okay. I will just talk about my own experience and my own strength and my own hope. I've been in the journey of Codependent Anonymous for about 5 years, so I still feel like I'm fairly new to the program, but it's been a very exciting journey of life for me. It wasn't so at the beginning. It's been probably the most painful experience that I've had to go through, but yet it's been the most rewarding experience that I've had to go through. And in speaking about step one, for me, step one has been a step of powerless, brokenness and sickness. I felt now after 5 years of going through this journey, I feel like I've come alive. I felt like I was in a state of dream, that I was totally numb and asleep. To me, Codependent Anonymous has brought me back to life. And it's step one was for me the foundation. It was the foundation of my spiritual structure that I needed to build. Even though I call myself a very religious person before coming to CoDA, and even when I came to CoDA, I discovered in CoDA that yet I call myself a religious person with a religious background. My spiritual life was empty, was totally in bankruptcy. So step one, I meant that I had to come to I believe that my life was unmanageable, and my life was just totally out of control. It was just and I was powerless. I came to realize that my own powerlessness had taken me to a journey of unmanageable. And it was through step one where I had to just come to believe that I had to admission for me, step one for me, it's a step of admission. And because I had been asleep for so many years and I had been numb, I could not come to that point of admission in which I had to just recognize that my life was just out of control. And yet during my illusion of life, I felt that that everything was manageable, that everything was under control, that I had the power to change, and I had the power to change others and to change myself. But it was just for me, knowing what I know now is just a way of just masking myself, masking the situation, masking other people. And step one for me was absolutely foundational. I had to take a very, very good look at my experience, and in my experience with codependency, and hit that deep realization that I was powerless, that I was totally powerless, And it was very difficult to get to that point. It was a sense of hopelessness. It was helplessness and a sense of doom. It was a lot of crying nights and lots of just that sense of, what do you mean I don't have control over me? What do you mean I don't have control over others? What does that mean? I've always been in control. I've always been powerless. I've always been powerful, and I've done so many things with my life. But it was the ego. It was the ego, obviously, telling me that I had a life that was under control. And the other thing with me is that I had to come to an understanding that this exercise of step 1 was not an exercise that I could rationalize, that I could not do it in my head. It was not a head exercise. It was a gut, and it was a head exercise, a heart exercise, not a head exercise, but a heart. I had to ask lots of questions, and questions that I was not willing to ask before. I had to live through the tension and through the pain of being powerless, and to be open and to sit in meetings for a good couple of years, just listening in to other people, and without without judging anyone there. But I just had to be open in my heart and in my gut, open to new information, and get to the point of just surrender to a power higher than myself. Even though I came from a religious background in which I proclaimed that I did have a power greater than myself. But this was a time to say, my God of my understanding, it's really a power greater than myself. For all these years, I thought he was the God of my understanding, but yet I was the one with the power, not him. And so step 1 was for allowing myself to a new experience over and over for 2 years, over and over, and to allow this cycle of tension, this cycle of powerless, this cycle of opening up the heart and be confronted at the gut level. So that's what step 1 was for me. Just taking that horrible step 1 that takes me, to the next level. But I have to do it I have to do it from a gut level and a heart level, not a head level. And that's what that's where I'm at with that's where I was, and it continues. It's a cycle that repeats itself whenever I allow the ego to take over, and I feel powerful. I need to just get back on track and say, Rosa, you need to just stop and do the step all over again.
Thank you, Rosa.
Thank you.
Okay, so 1 second here. And it's Linda from Florida. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Linda V. from Sarasota, Florida, recovering codependent. Glad everybody's here today. The way we set this up, I'm going to just make a couple of comments, and then I'm going to save my summary of the first 3 steps, since I work them all together generally. I'll save that till the end. I wanted to just say is that being the good codependent that I am, when I first came into recovery, when I first read the steps, and I've actually polled some of my sponsees, and they've had actually the same response as, oh, I can't wait to get to step 4. And it's like doing the first 3 steps were just that way to get to step 4. And what I've learned and what I tell my sponsees is that getting a foundation in the first 3 steps is absolutely crucial to be able to do the step 4 in a way that is loving and supporting for me. That being said, I liked what Rosa said about asking questions, because I also want to give everyone a tool, and it's also something that the CoDA board is asking for comments on. So if after we're done with this panel, if you go to CoDA.org and put in the search 30 questions, there is a draft document on how to work the first 3 steps, and I'm going to be talking about those 30 questions, because it's a great introduction to get a really good foundation on the first 3 steps before you even work the CoDA workbook. Just a couple of comments on the first step. To me, it's basically becoming aware that I can't live my life the way I'm continuing. I can't do it by myself. A lot of I can'ts, and just the awareness that's where I'm at, and being comfortable with being aware of that. And I will save the rest of what I have to say till the end. Thanks. Linda, are you there?
Sorry, I hit the wrong thing. So now we will start with step 2. How I worked it, and that's back to Bill from Florida.
So, well, my entire presentation was in my opening.
Would you like to elaborate at this point on step 2?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry about that. Step 2, I always believed that I had a good understanding of my higher power, which I choose to call God. But having said that, I have to say that my work in CoDA and my time in CoDA, just going to meetings, has helped me really better understand how God has been there for me. Not just knowing who my higher power is, but that my higher power is actually looking out for my best interests, and often will guide me in the right direction, even if that's just finding CoDA in the first place. The questions about did I have a higher power, and who was my higher power, and my understanding of my higher power were fairly easy for me to answer, but it's the depth with which my higher power, in conjunction with the work that I was doing, became clear to me that it was only through this combination that I was more easily able to work the steps, and has helped me grow and prosper in my CoDA work.
Thank you. So let me, there we go. Rosa, would you like to share on step 2?
Sure. So step 2 tell us that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore me to sanity. So for me, I thought God was I thought that he was my greater power, but not until I come to CoDA do I realize that there was a lot of people that were my greater power. There were circumstances. There was my parents had a much greater power. My children, my ex-husband, money, situations, and myself. I was there in front of God of my understanding, who I'm choose to call God, my greater power, my higher power. But when I look at steps 2, it's like, wow, who was powerful, or who had power over me? It was certainly was not God. It's not until step 2 that I began to really open up to the possibility that there could be someone out there greater than myself. That obviously, if I was that powerful, if my situations were more powerful, that my ex-husband was more powerful, why is it that my life was just so out of control? So I had to, for me, it was honesty. I had to really be honest and humble, and tell God of my understanding that for all these years I thought that He was, the power over me, and yet I just felt like there was everything else but God that had any power over me, and it was only through my higher power that I could be restored to sanity. And to me, it's mental sanity. I always like to put the word mental, because it was pretty insane what I was going through, and everything else that I've tried before could not have restored me to that sense, that mental state in which I could be free, other than God of my understanding. And so steps 2 for me was crucial, but it was also the step of honesty. It was a step of honesty and humility and forgiveness, where I had to forgive myself for really being wrong all these years, and say, okay, here I am. This is a desperation step, in which I was willing to say, okay, if you really exist, then show me that my life can become different by just allowing you the place that you should have had all along. Yeah. So that's what, that's kind of a summary of where step 2 was for me. Just that sense of, okay, I'm sorry, I've been wrong all these years. I thought you were in control of my life. I thought you had the power, but it was everything else that had the power over my life. Yeah. So that's step 2 for me, Linda.
Are you there, Linda?
I am here. You are too. Glad to hear your voice again. So about step 2 for me is basically, if step 1 is awareness, then step 2 is acceptance, and that's acceptance that I can't do it alone. Acceptance that there is a higher power. That a higher power can do for me what I can't do for myself, and that's how I choose to work step 2 and continue to work step 2. Just coming to those realizations that my higher power is in charge, and how and just remembering that. And sometimes that's just the what my work for the day is to remember that my higher power can do for me what I can't do for myself. And going back to making a reference to the 30 questions I was talking about before, what I like about the 30 questions is the first step is questions 1 through 12. The second step is questions 13 through 19. And those questions help to build a way to make your higher power or my higher power relationship first in my life. And when I can remember to do that, and when I can bring my higher power into my life as the first relationship, then I know that all I have to do is follow my higher powers. My intuition and my higher power will guide me, and that if my higher power is always in charge, that to me is what step 2 is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, then we go back to Bill for step 3.
Thank you, Linda. For me personally, step 3 is sort of a preparation for the harder work that's to come ahead. Obviously, everyone is generally aware of how difficult step 4 can be. And to me, step 3 is trying to bring together what I learned in step 1, that I had these character defects, that I had these codependent behaviors, and step 2, that I had my higher power to help me and to be there for me. To me, step 3 brings those two together and said to me, okay, you're about to start some really, really difficult work, but you have these tools at your disposal. You are becoming aware of who and what you are. You're becoming aware that maybe you always haven't made the best decisions. But I'm also becoming aware that I have my higher power at my side. And additionally, I had these other people that I was working the steps with to also lean on and learn from. And it was kind of like, okay, we're going to start some really tough work now, but you've got everything you need to accomplish it. And that, in a brief summary, is how I felt about step 3.
And how it continues to apply to your life today, that one or the summary of all of them, Bill? Would you care to comment on that?
Well, how it applies to me today is that I find that the first 3 steps, while obviously I try to use all the steps and the work that I learn from those in my daily life, recognizing when I've made a bad decision, any number of things, doing service work. But the first 3 steps are the prime to living my life and recognizing when I'm making healthy choices and when I'm not making healthy choices. How I can lean on my higher power to help me make better choices, how to look forward to each day and appreciate all the gifts that I've been given, especially in CoDA, to have this incredibly dynamic and exciting life that I have had, but in a much healthier way, that I don't have to have the drama and the difficulty. It doesn't mean that all my problems go away, but many of my self-created problems have gone away. And so working these 3 steps, recognizing my issues, recognizing my higher power, and knowing that together with my higher power and my own understanding of what I need to accomplish, I can move forward with any difficulty that pops up in my life.
Thank you so much. Let me see here. Rosa, it's your turn to speak on step 3 and on all 3 steps as you like.
Okay, very good. Step 3, made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood him. Wow, step 3 was all about decision making for me. Step 2, I realized that I could not do it alone, and that he could do for me what I couldn't do for myself, as Linda said. But in step 3, it's an action step, as I have to make a decision. I have to make a decision to truly have a honest and healthy relationship with that power of step 2. I'm not a very good decision maker. So step 3 has been challenging, has been because I don't like to make decisions. As a good codependent person, I've always allowed other people to make decisions for me. And so step 3 was about making a decision to have a relationship with my higher power, which I call God. And I had to make a decision, a personal and a spiritual turning point for me. It was this was a turning point for me to change my personal and my spiritual journey, and surrender that to that power. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. But, I do remember vividly asking myself, it's a big price to pay. It's a big price to pay to totally surrender my life and give my will and my life over to that power. But I do remember, what do I have to lose? I do remember asking myself, what do I have to lose? Nothing has worked. So that was the price. I had to pay the price, and it meant that I had to destroy this illusion of Rosa for the last 53 years. Someone had to die, and it had to be the illusionary Rosa that had to be destroyed. And with that destruction meant pain. Destruction meant not gentle. Destruction meant, in many levels, not only a physical, but a spiritual, but an emotional level. I had to destroy this illusion of me that I had created for the last 53 years. So it was not gentle. It was very, very painful. But I had nothing to lose. I had everything to gain, and I had nothing to lose, and a price had to be paid for me. So I had to turn the other way. For me, I had to ask myself. I had to ask myself, and I had to answer the question: for how much longer do you want to continue to play God, Rosa? For how much longer? It doesn't work. So I just had to just get to that level and say, here I am. I want to build a relationship with you. I had never been able to build a relationship with anyone. And this was the first time that I was willing to build that relationship with God as my higher power. So for me, step 3, step 1 was the foundation. Step 2 was the cornerstone, and step 3 was the keystone. That's how I saw step 3. It was a decision for God. It was a decision for God and it was a decision to turn myself, my will and my life and in my will over to, so I've always asked myself, in my journey, when I came to Codependent Anonymous and to this life, this process, I ask myself, who was looking for God first? Was I looking for God first, or was God looking for me first? Was it my willingness to, in step 3, that allow me to see God's grace in my life that I've always been looking for? but it was, it just didn't matter whether it was the chicken or the egg. I just knew that at age 53, almost 54, we found each other. And I was at a point in my life in which I was willing. There was willingness to have that true, honest relationship with that power. I was taken to that place. In step 3, I was taken to that place of willingness, and I was willing to take that step at that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Let's see here. Linda, would you like to summarize?
Sure. So I love CoDA and the acronyms and the slogans that we have. And to me, the first 3 steps is summed up in 2 different ways. First of all, the shortcut is I can't is the first step. God can is the second step. And the third step is, and I think I will let God handle my life. And when I can remember that, my life becomes so much easier. Another a slogan that I like is awareness, acceptance, and action. And to me, that's, again, the first 3 steps. I can't is the awareness that my life is out of control and I'm powerless. God can is the as the acceptance that I agree that's a possibility and that I'm willing to try it. And 3 is to making that commitment to be able to let God, and that's the action part about it, letting God become first in my life. What I like about the 30 questions is steps. The third step is questions 20 through 30, and those questions are about how to let God be in charge of my life. And again, when I can do that, when I can let God be in charge of my life, and really accept and be aware of that, then I can be free to know that I can't make a mistake, and that whatever is happening is God's will for me, and my acceptance is to just not fight it and be. I don't have to necessarily be happy about it, but I have to recognize that there's a lesson in it somewhere, and that I will learn. I don't have to know the lesson now. That God is going to show me and help me through whatever circumstances I'm going through. And I want to do a little bit of a summary about the 30 questions as well. The first step talks about using the phone, and that to me is getting out of my comfort zone, and that's maybe one of the first tools that I use, just to call people and to get out of my comfort zone and realize that other people had other ways of dealing with their life that I had no concept of. And using the phone as a tool for helping get out of that rut of feeling powerless. You can be powerless and you can commiserate with others on the phone. So that's a great tool for step 1, and it's talked about in the 30 questions. Question 12 in the 30 questions combines concepts about being thoughtful and having boundaries. So there's a lot of tools that can help in the 30 questions. Then question 13 talks about enmeshment, detachment, and avoidance with learning to believe in a higher power. So I think that's important for learning those words and learning how they apply in my life, and how I can become more aware of where my life is unmanageable and ways that I can let my higher power give me guidance on how to deal with those. And I just wanted to end on question 27 in the 30 questions. There, it recites a prayer, and I just wanted to read it because I think it's great. It says, God, I give to you all that I am and all that I will be for your healing and direction. Make new this day as I release all my worries and fears and fears to you, knowing that you are by my side. Please help me to open myself to your love, to allow your love to heal my wounds, and allow your love to flow through me and from me to those around me. May your will be done this day and always. Amen. And that to me is the best way to practice the first 3 steps and to get a really good foundation and really be grounded in the first 3 steps before ever starting the 4th step. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Linda. Now is the time for questions or comments. Please note that this program has a chat feature. Your phone may also have a feature allowing you to raise your hand to ask a question and to lower it once you've been called on. That, if for those of you who are calling in, should be under More at the top of your cell phone. You can open your mic to ask a question by pressing *6, *6, and after your question, pressing *6 again. Alrighty, so and I wonder, let me ask the presenters whether any of them would like to make final comments. Let me see here. I've got to unmute their mics. Bill, Rosa, and Linda V. Would you like to make final comments?
This is Linda. Since I'm going to be leaving right at 1, I'd like to just kind of. I had a nice quote that I found from somebody else that I think it's very appropriate for me. In regards to steps 1, 2, and 3. Can I just go ahead and say that and recite it? I don't know. There's anonymous author to this, but. It's a quote that says, I must experience my powerlessness so that it becomes the launching pad of desperation to seek and find power. And I quote.
Thank you for that, Rosa. Bill, did you have any final words?
The only thing I would say is that, as I mentioned, I've worked the steps so far twice, and I absolutely am certain that I will embark on working them a 3rd time, because one of the things in working with my sponsee recently, I realized that I wouldn't answer a number of the questions the same way today that I did the first and second times I worked the steps because of my recovery, and that the effects of working the program and the steps and traditions specifically have been so profound in my life that I know that only through doing this work will I continue to improve and get healthier.
Thank you, Bill. Linda?
Well, I just wanted to say that I am so glad that so many participants were on the call today, and that was truly an international call. I didn't find out where everybody was from, but we had somebody from Quebec, Canada, and somebody from Spain, and I'm sure from other places and around the country. So that's been really cool. And to me, it shows that the CoDA is growing, and that we have our work cut out for us to get the word out to more people. So, and thank you for letting me share.
Thank you all. And again, does anyone have any question or comment for the speakers? If you press *6, you'll be able to be heard. I'm going to.
Hi.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Don in Los Angeles. I just like to thank the presenters. I thought it was well organized and get a lot of food for thought. And I really appreciated the effort you put into it, and I found it to be very moving and helpful and something I'm glad it's recorded, and I'm glad it's going to be streamed. It's something I'll be listening and revisiting. Thank you very much.
I see a question from Juliet in the chat. She said, one of the speakers has mentioned that before starting to work on the 3 steps, her advice was to read something. And she's saying, could you please repeat what it was that you thought we should read before working steps 1, 2, 3, or any of the steps?
This is Linda V. Yes, if you go to CoDA.org and do a search for 30 questions, and just, I think it's the number 30 questions, you will come up with a draft document that is actually being worked on, and they're soliciting comments on the 30 questions until before the next CoDA service conference. So you've got a couple more months to look at them and make comments. But those 30 questions are, I've had them for years. They were put out in Northern California by the Sacramento CoDA group up there, and they just recently made them available to CoDA as a whole, and want to make them a universal literature document. So I've been using them for years, and I recommend them to all my sponsees, and I highly recommend that you take a look at them, use them, comment on them, do what you can to get them approved and get them out for regular distribution to everyone in CoDA.
Thank you so much, Linda. I see Nicole has your hand up, so go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for all the shares, because it's nice to hear about CoDA, about the recovery, about the 1, 2, 3 steps. I've been working through on the 30 questions. I'm up to about question 50, and it is a lot of hard work. But it's worth it, because I can see the change that I'm going through. So I've not been long in CoDA, but I really, really, really appreciate hearing about CoDA on a forum like this. Thank you very much.
I don't know how to raise my hand.
I'm sorry, I keep trying to unmute myself, and I'm doing something else instead. Thank you. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and speak.
Oh, thank you. This is Ann. Yeah, I will also say that my experience has been many start and few finish the steps. And some of it is, the struggle with the higher power. Things are just too overwhelming. They go to a counselor. And I've had people come and join the next round that the step study was going. So even if they don't finish it, I don't take it personally. It's an individual growth process, and it can be very, very painful. And another thing about the steps is doing it in a group is absolutely wonderful, because everybody has a different concept of their higher power. Those questions in the green book are very vague. You don't even understand necessarily what they're asking. And so having a group of people in a step study to go through it together, it's like you build on what they come up with for their answers. And it's a whole, growth process. And I just find the most amazing people do it. You get to know them very well. And the depth of, thoughtfulness that goes into things, it's just amazing, really.
Thank you. These questions and comments are very, very helpful. Would anyone else dare to tell us, hey, I'm Frida from who knows where. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you after the hard work of the presenters. Not to guilt you or anything.
Linda?
Yes.
Oh, Linda, this is Bill. If I could, I'd like to make 2 quick comments. One is that obviously attending meetings has been a very important part of my process. But I have to say that I think if I had just attended meetings and never done the 12-step work, I wouldn't be 20% as far along in my growth and recovery as I am. I think that working the steps and traditions gets to the heart of helping us actually get answers that we're seeking. Many people come in with a million questions, and those questions are sometimes answered in meetings, listening to other people or sharing. But in doing this work and answering these questions that are clearly designed to elicit a thought process for us and to bring out understanding that we would not have done without these questions, I can only speak for me, but I would be nowhere near in my recovery process that I am. Second, for just as an aside, the 2 times that I've worked the steps, I've done it once in a co-ed group where it was both men and women working the steps all the way from 1 to 12. The second time, we very quickly broke into just men and just women. And there are benefits to both. And each person has to make their own decision what they're comfortable with. One of the things I personally found incredible about working the steps in a co-ed group is that I came to understand things that I would have never understood if I wasn't given the opportunity to understand a female perspective in my case. And my understanding from some of the women in the group is that conversely, they were able to understand a male perspective that they did not understand before working the steps as a group. So again, each person is absolutely open to make their own decision, what they're comfortable with. But I can say that I so deeply enjoyed working the steps. And it started out, that was the group that started out with 18. And when we got down to 4, it was 2 men and 2 women. And it was just incredible, the eye-opening lessons I learned from working it that way.
Thank you so much, Bill. I see that Juliet has her hand raised, so go ahead, Juliet.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all your presentations. They were very, very, very good and very valuable. I just wanted to say, I just wanted to present myself. I'm Juliet. I'm half Argentinian, half French, and I'm living between Spain and Switzerland. And at this moment, I'm in Spain, south of Spain. So thank you very much to all of you. And I joined CoDA less than 1 year ago, and I'm working on the first step since then. So thank you very much. And this was very, very, very helpful.
Thank you so much for making the effort to cross the Atlantic, you and Ana. And I don't know who else may have done so, but Ana is joining us from Spain and you from someplace on the continent, I think. Fantastic.
I'm in Spain at this moment.
What part of Spain are you in?
Right now I'm in Andalusia, which is south of Spain.
Right.
But I live in Geneva. I live between Geneva and Madrid, let's say.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah. Ana,
but I'm French and Argentinian.
so Ana in Malaga would not be close to where you are?
Yeah, she's very close. Actually, we were chatting. She actually sent me the info of this forum. Yeah.
Hooray! Bienvenue. Okay.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Yeah, we also have somebody from Quebec. Well, she was. I don't know if she's still here. Somebody from Quebec. Okay. Anybody else with a question or a comment? In which case, then let us close.
Linda, before you close, I just want to reiterate what I said originally, and that is in my experience and how I work the steps and how I work with my sponsees, it's so important to get a very good foundation in the first 3 steps before even attempting to go to the 4th step. And that's why I think this particular forum and this particular panel is so important, so we can get the word out there, because part of the attrition rate, I think, may be in working the steps that people don't have the foundation, so they don't trust a higher power. And when you get to the work of the 4th and 5th steps, with the help of a higher power, it makes it so much easier, and there's so much more enlightenment and an ease of sharing because you trust in a higher power, and that to me is so incredibly important in working all of the steps from my perspective.
Thank you so much. Shall we close with the Serenity Prayer? I don't know if everybody wants to join in. You can open your mics if you like. Linda, would you like to start?
Sure. Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change,
the courage
to
change
things I can,
and the wisdom to know the difference.
Okay, I'm